I need to tell you what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible, but there's something about the day I called his love a leash that nobody understands. Everyone thinks James is the villain who moved on too fast, but the truth is, I'm the one who ruined everything. And here's what really happened when I told him his love felt like a leash and watched him smile, wave, and date the girl I said didn't threaten me. If I don't tell this story, you'll never understand why I check her Instagram 17 times a day like I'm picking at a scab. But once you know what I know about what I said in that coffee shop, you'll see why I had no choice but to lie to myself until it was too late. I'm going to tell you everything, including why I really picked that fight about the leash. And the part that makes me look worse, I'm saving that for the end because you need to understand how perfect we looked first. We had been together 3 years and lived together for 2. James would text me good morning before my alarm, send me photos of dogs we passed on the street, and keep my favorite snack in his glove box just in case. My friends called him GPS James because he always knew where I was and what I needed. I laughed along, but something cold was growing in my stomach that I never said out loud. There's something about James I haven't told you yet. He proposed 6 months ago, and I said I needed time. I told everyone it was because we were young, but the real reason was petrifying. What if this was it? What if the man who brought me medicine at 2 a.m. and remembered my coffee order was the best love I'd ever get, and I was just too spoiled to see it? I was so focused on the fear of forever that I missed the bigger problem brewing inside me. Looking back, the signs were all there, but I was too comfortable to see what was coming. He started checking in more when I went out with my friend Lexi, who always complained about her boyfriend. I thought he was being sweet. When he suggested we spend New Year's just us two instead of at her party, I thought he was being romantic. If I had known then what I know now about how trapped I really felt, I would have recognized those as the first vibrations of the earthquake. I thought I was being smart when I started picking small fights to create breathing room. What I didn't realize was that I was teaching him how to live without me, one argument at a time. Everyone was trying to warn me about my coldness, but I couldn't see that they meant I was already halfway gone. I felt so proud of my independence that I completely missed how he stopped fighting back and started simply listening. The night I told him his love felt like a leash, something happened that I've never told anyone about. We were sitting in our favorite coffee shop, the one where we had our first date, and I was supposed to be choosing a wedding venue from the 3 brochures he'd printed. Instead, I looked at his eager face and felt the walls closing in. I had planned to say I needed space, but what came out was so much crueler. "Your love feels like a leash," I said, and watched his face crumble like wet paper. The words felt powerful leaving my mouth, like I was finally the main character in my own life. I know this makes me sound heartless, but you don't understand how small he'd made me feel by loving me so completely. Yes, I messed up, but if you knew how terrified I was of turning into my mother, who settled at 22 and complained forever, you'd see why I needed to run. You're probably thinking I'm just another commitment phobe who destroyed something good, but it gets worse. Because sitting across from us in that coffee shop was Emma, the girl from his gym who I'd met twice and dismissed as no threat. She was behind the counter that day, and when James stumbled out crying, she took her break to follow him. I watched her touch his shoulder through the window and felt the first stab of what I'd lost. I told myself he'd be too heartbroken to date anyone for months, just like everyone does when they dump someone who truly loved them. I convinced myself that Emma wasn't pretty enough or funny enough to matter, because admitting she might comfort him was too scary. I had no idea how much worse things were about to get. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my phone started blowing up 3 weeks later. James had posted a photo of himself at a comedy club with Emma. He was smiling like I'd never seen him smile. Not the patient grin he wore with me, but something loose and real. My friends all said he was being petty, but what they didn't know was that I'd been checking his location through our shared Netflix account like a crazy ex. While everyone on social media was commenting on how cute they looked together, I was privately dying inside because I recognized something in his eyes that had disappeared years ago with me. Everyone thinks social media ruined us, but the real problem started before that, when I started seeing his love as a cage instead of a home. I looked like I had it all together, but privately I was crafting the perfect apology text I never sent. The photo that destroyed me wasn't the comedy club one, or the beach shot, or even the birthday dinner his mom posted. It was a simple picture of them grocery shopping, Emma pushing the cart while James studied a cereal box with the same focus he used to reserve for my face. That's when I knew Emma wasn't just a rebound. She was getting the version of him I'd stopped appreciating. I should have been relieved that he seemed happy, but instead I felt like I was drowning. For a moment, I actually believed I could win him back if I just explained about the leash comment. I spent hours crafting the perfect message, not knowing that Emma had already changed his Netflix password and taught him how to turn off read receipts. The comments on my posts were all, "You're better off," but the DMs told a different story about how everyone missed us together. This is where I really messed up. Instead of letting go, I did what every prideful idiot does. I started dating someone louder, flashier, more wrong. I posted stories of us at clubs James hated, knowing he'd see them. I thought I was protecting my image, but actually I was proving to James that I'd never really loved him at all. While I was worried about looking like I was thriving, the real problem was that I was teaching him I was exactly who he shouldn't mourn. You know that feeling when you're screaming inside but smiling for photos? That's exactly where I was when James and Emma hit their 6-month mark. I told my new boyfriend I was fine, just like everyone does when they're dying inside but too proud to admit they broke their own heart. I convinced myself that James would come back once he saw what he'd lost, because admitting I'd driven him away forever was too scary to face. I know how this sounds, but there's more. James didn't just move on, he flourished. Emma got the promotion-ready James who wore button-downs I'd bought him to her work events. She got the James who cooked elaborate dinners, the one I'd stopped appreciating when takeout became easier than saying thank you. The James who now smiled in photos like someone who'd survived something dangerous and learned to breathe again. Stop and think about this for a second. Would you have done what I did if you felt yourself disappearing? If you woke up every morning as someone's everything, but felt like you were becoming nothing? I know it sounds crazy, but Instagram actually saved my relationship with reality because scrolling through their happiness finally made me understand what I'd thrown away wasn't chains. It was someone choosing me every single day. Here's what I haven't told you, and it changes everything. 3 days after the leash comment, I found out I was pregnant. I sat in our bathroom staring at those parallel lines and felt not joy, but terror at the thought of James's gentle love wrapping around this baby, around me, forever. I drove to the clinic alone. I told myself I was being kind by setting him free before he had to choose between his dreams and duty. The real reason I'm telling you this is because watching him raise Emma's dog like it's his child is killing me in a way I deserve. Remember what I said about the leash? Here's the truth. It was never James holding the other end. I was the one gripping so tightly to my fear of being ordinary that I strangled the only extraordinary love I'll ever know. Now, 15 months later, here's where things stand. I smile and wave when we run into them at the farmer's market because I taught him that's all I deserved. He dates the girl I said didn't threaten me because I showed him that love wasn't safe with someone always looking for the exit. The worst part isn't what you think. It's something I've never told anyone. The night before I said the leash thing, James had been researching vow renewal ceremonies for couples who weren't officially married yet. He wanted to promise me forever in front of our friends because he'd noticed me pulling away and thought maybe I needed to hear how permanent he was. Everyone could see what was happening except me, and by the time I understood, I'd already taught him that some dogs are so scared of being chained that they run from the people holding their food bowl. I'm not proud of what I did, but I need you to understand this. Sometimes we destroy the things that love us most, not because we're cruel, but because we're terrified we won't recognize ourselves in the reflection of someone else's adoration. James smiles that free smile now because I show him that loving me was a crime he didn't commit. And I check her Instagram 17 times a day because seeing him happy with someone brave enough to stay is the only penance I have for the life I could have had if I hadn't been so busy running from a leash that was really just someone choosing to hold on when I kept trying to let go.